Alright guys, so got our timing chain on, oil pump, went ahead and put the covers on and all that. There's not really much to that. One quick little thing to note here, since we did go with the double roller chain setup, the LS7 style, we did end up having a clearance, even with the spacers in here that was provided with the kit. We had to clearance the neck of the oil pickup tube, or the neck for the pickup tube. Got a little tight in there, actually had a little bit of rubbing, not much, but went ahead and went there with a nice little clean, nice little small file, massaged it back a little bit. So we've got plenty of room and we still got plenty of material on the neck, we're safe there. So with these covers, on the front covers on these Gen 3s and Gen 4s, I think it's about the same way. You actually use a balancer to help center it up. So we cleaned out the cover, put a new seal in the front, new crank seal, and you put your gasket on, and the balancer as it goes in helps center the whole thing, because you need to make sure it's nice and even across here for when you put your oil pan on. So it went down, run all that down. We still haven't tightened the bolt yet. There's a whole special procedure for using that. So you always want to you need to put a new bolt in when you do, but you use the old one to help torque it down with the initial one. There's a whole procedure for that. We'll go over that later. Got our tray on the bottom. These torque down to 18 foot-pounds. So does your front cover. We also got the back cover on while we had it on the bench. It was nice and easy. Cleaned up the surface back there. Put the new seal in. Most of the time when you get seals, if you get it from a reputable company like Felpro or Mai or whatever, the one that comes with this kit, comes with a nice centering tool. It goes right over the snout, right here, and it helps line it right up whenever you put the seal on. And it just, we already put the seal in the cover before we put it on, and just slid it on. Both these front and back covers torque to 18 foot-pounds, which most all these specs you can find online real easy anyways. If we've missed any of them, there's nothing to it. There's all over the place with forums or whatever, you can find them. So we went ahead and went with a new oil pickup tube. We thought about trying to clean the other one. Just wasn't worth it, because you never really get it fully clean in there, and for like 60-something bucks, it was well worth the money. So went ahead and got a little bit of oil around here on the ring to help slide it in. Just take, like most anything, take your time, nice and easy. Gonna line up on your studs here, and then just kind of work it on in. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and start our bolt, and just clean that off a little bit. Start that in. All right. And now we'll go ahead and get our oil pan on. Got all our surfaces nice and clean. See, before we do anything, we're gonna put a little dab of the Permatex Right Stuff here in the corners, because you do have a little bit of a potential for leaks. So we're going to seal that. Right across here, nothing crazy. Yeah. Can get this thing to work. They never really do. There we go. Ah, that was terrible. Okay. Never fails. Just one little dab, and just get a little excited, and it just all comes out at once. Hate when it happens. All right. Get a little bit of that up there. We don't need quite that much. Set our gasket on. Notice it's got the ports over here on this side. That's actually where our oil cooler. This motor is actually came equipped. Actually, most all of them have the provision for it, but this is actually doesn't have the plate or block off plate. It's actually got the oil cooler setup on it, so we're going to run it. And we're going to grab our bolts, set our pan on, and start. We're going to set it on there nice and easy. Once we've got it all good and cleaned up. Nice like that. Okay, so finally starting to look a little more like a motor. This beast, the Marco. So we're with this engine here. This come out of like we said, an 05 Escalade. There's different setups you can have here. Most all these trucks had near about the same pan, depending on application. Normally, a lot of times you'll see just a block-off plate here. This little plate that bolts on with a little protrusion out to where an oil temperature sensor could go in. Like some of your later vehicles, especially the Gen 4s for sure. I think a lot of them had the actually had the sensor there. So I say that we've got an oil cooler on this one, so that makes a difference in which gasket we use. So if you notice here, there's two ports, an inlet and outlet, for the, and this goes to the oil cooler that we're going to run out front. And you want to make sure you're using the right gasket. So our kit come with two different ones. Now, had we had the actual plate that just goes on here, that just, for bypass, this would work because it just lets it flow from port to port. And you could get your oil temperature reading from there. Well, we are running the oil cooler setup, so we need to separate that, and we don't want it crossing over. We want it to go through the cooler and then back, so we use this gasket here. So just be careful, make sure you use the right one, otherwise you could, it's not really going to kill anything, but if you're running a cooler, it'd be kind of pointless because it's just bypassing and you're not really utilizing the cooler. So just be careful, pay attention to what type of gaskets you're using. Next, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get this on, and then we're going to flip this bad boy over. We're going to start putting some lifters in and put the heads on. All right, guys, so now we've got our oil pan on, got the motor rolled back over to where we're topside now. So went ahead and upgraded to the LS7 style lifters. They've been soaking well over 24 hours. And so they're good and primed up now. So what we're going to do is we also got new trays. They're a few bucks a piece. It's well worth to get new ones. That plastic will get brittle over time, and especially with this having like 150K on it, well worth it. So we're going to go ahead and load them in. You'll see the top, you see how they're notched like that, and you just slide in these cute little trays like meow. Right. Meow. And just load them up. And so you've got a little indention here in the top side, and that's where it needs to go, is the top side. Just nice and easy. Don't really want to get crazy or force anything, just kind of let it do its thing on the way in. If you ever force it, it's not so much fun. Nice and easy. And boom goes the dynamite. So you see we already did one here, it's already in. Got this one, and we're going to repeat the process over here, and we'll be ready to put some heads on. So also, before we loaded these, or before we did any of these in here too, we also pre-oiled the bores. Just take if you got a clean glove on or clean hands, and go in and just put you some oil, or like some 30 weight, or like mainly engine assembly lube is really what you want to do. I didn't have any with me right now, so we're using 30 weight. But just go in there and kind of pre-lube it, because you never want to go in dry. Lube makes everything better. So make sure it's all good and lubed up. We're going to go ahead and get these in, and we'll be good to go. Okay guys, so now we got all our lifters in, our trays. We went through and pushed down each one of the lifters nice and easy, so it sits down on the cam lobes. Each one's at different heights because as the cam lobes go around. So we got our surfaces nice and cleaned up. Quick little tech tip for you, and this goes for any kind of blind hole. So you've got some holes that are open on the back side, but all these head bolts are all what they call blind holes. Like there's no opening on the back side, they're just deadhead. So if you don't make sure, you got to make sure you clean these out. So, blow some air in there, brake clean and blow air or whatever. Get any of that crud out. So fluid doesn't compress. So you got to try to put those head bolts in there, and you run down and there's fluid in there. 9 times out of 10, you're going to end up cracking a block. Doesn't matter if it's cast iron or aluminum, you're still going to be in trouble. So make sure those are good and clean. It's a quick little thing you can do just to make sure you're good, and it gives you a good, accurate torque reading, because that can throw it off having that back pressure. So that being said, let's go ahead. We're going to go ahead and grab our head gaskets. All right. All right, guys, so we got our head gaskets here, and we're using these came with the kit, the Male kit, and these are a nice, MLS multi-layer steel kit. So, we're not doing anything crazy with this one, so these will work perfect. Now, you'll notice on these, they actually say front. Depending on your manufacturer, it might say some different things, but just kind of make sure that, they're facing the right direction. Look around too, make sure, especially if you keep your old head gaskets, like I probably should have done. Do as I say, not as I do, right? Now, just make sure that your holes are all in the same. Sometimes, it's happened. I've gotten it before where they send in the wrong gaskets, or they're not machined out right, and they've got a hole where it shouldn't be, or vice versa. So take some time to look around. I've already checked these over, so I know they're right. And so now we're going to set these on, and then we're going to go ahead and grab our heads. We've already got cleaned out. We're going to go ahead and set those down and move on to our next step. All right, so got our heads on, fill out our lube on the ARP bolts, like under the heads and on the threads. Make sure our stuff was clean before we put them in, and put our washers on the right way with the perforated part down. Their procedure for these in particular was the main bolts, 25 the first pass, 50 the second pass, 75 for the third pass and final, and then you go back and do 25 on the top little bolts. They've got the sequence over there in their instructions, so that kind of give you a rough idea. Your application might be a little bit slightly different. So like I said, torque specs for these things, you can 0.2 seconds, you can Google online and you can get a whole list of every torque spec for these type of engines. So now that we got the heads on, next thing we're going to do is pop our push rods in, and then we're going to, with those rocker arms, we did the trunnion upgrade. Now we're going to go ahead and put those on. All right, guys, so getting our top end of our valve train on now. We put all our push rods in, and pretty much with those, you just take a little cap of oil or something, just dip each end in oil, slide it in, make sure it sits down good in the lifter. If you don't, you're going to have a bad day. So make sure they're set all down. This is a good time to check, make sure your lifters are all the way down on your cam lobes. So when you go to tighten down your rockers, you're not getting all kind of funky. So they've got these little girdles that go across here. This little bracket, it just sets right down on there. That's what the rockers sit down in. We've already done our trunnion upgrades as we've seen earlier. So it's got the new Allen head bolt. So what we're going to do is snug these down. We'll kind of look, there's normally going to be one or two, one or so on each head that's going to be a little out of whack. So we won't really torque it down or anything just yet. We'll just kind of snug it. We'll torque the others, rotate it around to where those are free and not have any pressure on them. We'll torque those down to the 22 foot-pounds and go from there. Okay guys, so we got our rockers on, went through, torqued everything down to 22 foot-pounds. So now one of the last things we're going to do tonight is put our valve covers on that we've already cleaned up. We've got the new gaskets in. They're pretty simple, explanatory. It's just it fits in a little groove. Just make sure We had a little bit of issue with some of these not wanting to get all the way in the groove. So just take your time, make sure you go around, make sure it's all the way in the groove all the way. And so these bolts here actually have an inner sleeve in them that slides up and down. And these rubbers, we cut off the old one, and these come in the new kit. So you always want to replace those. They normally come with the gasket set. These, I think there is a technical torque spec, but really you pretty much just run them down until that sleeve bottoms out. You'll feel it, just nice and easy. Don't ham fist it. They break really easy, or you can strip out in the head, and then you're really in trouble. So you'll feel it stop, and then you're good to go. Okay, guys. Totally put that in there. All right, guys. So we're gonna call it there tonight, and I mean it's like, I don't know, almost 1 something in the morning. We're tired. We're beat. So we hit our mark. So where we wanted to be. So got our heads on, got our oil pan on, got our valve train all together, got our valve covers on. So we're not gonna we're gonna set the plate on there for just now, but we're not going to put this on because when we actually go to mount this to the transmission and everything, we're going to bolt our lift plate right directly to here, so there's no point in putting that gasket and that plate on or the intake. So that's going to do it for us guys tonight. Really appreciate you guys checking us out. Hope you enjoyed it. This has been it's been a fun build so far. You guys like it, hopefully give us a subscribe, click like, turn on the bell for notifications, and the next episode we'll be starting to tear out the motor in the Jeep. It'll be really getting serious. So, guys, like I said, hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next episode. Until then, remember, stock is not an option.